Season 3 will drop a romantic twist that nobody saw coming. Tina and Vince will end up together. After Tina went back to New York, she swore she would never go back to Tulsa. And Vince, the acting boss of the Invernizzi family, takes this opportunity to get on Dwight's good side. Once Vince hears that Dwight and Tina are no longer on speaking terms, he jumps at the opportunity, promising to protect her. After Vince is initially dismissed by Dwight, he then realizes the value of always having eyes on Tina, who isn't returning his messages. In time, Tina starts to see Vince as more than just a made man and her dad's old crew. Likewise, Vince cannot help himself but admire Tina. But Vince knows that Dwight would never approve of him being with Tina, who is torn about starting a relationship with a mafioso. Despite all of that, Tina and Vince end up becoming a couple, which nearly gives Dwight a heart attack along the way. Tyson has always said he's wanted to be like Dwight, so Tyson's arc comes full circle, as he ends up going to prison for his sworn family, just like Dwight did at the beginning of the show. After using Dwight, the DEA doesn't just look to take Dwight to prison, but also Vince and Bill Belquiva, 3 underworld leaders that tie back into the mob. However, when Tyson and Mitch find this out, they cannot bear the thought of Tina losing both Vince and Dwight. So Tyson hatches a plan. Using evidence of the illegal deals that the DEA used against Dwight, Tyson and Mitch force the DEA to arrest them instead of Bill and Vince, knowing that they won't let go of Dwight. So in the end, most of the Manfredi crew end up walking free, just as Dwight made the DEA promise. However, when the DEA finally prosecutes Dwight, he's joined by Tyson and Mitch. And in the joint, this trio forms a formidable crew, facing both potential allies and Dwight's old enemy. During the epilogue, Tina and Vince are seen having an argument in the car, but quickly stop when the kids are picked up from school. Meanwhile, Grace takes over Mitch's used car business, with Bigfoot being the only security detail that the lot needs. Elsewhere, Bohdi smashes a pipe load when he turns on the TV to see Dwight, Tyson, and Mitch all get arrested. The latest to get nabbed in a string of arrests to take down the global drug cartel. Back in Tulsa, Margaret dreams of having a quiet afternoon with Dwight, only to wake up to an empty bed alone in the farm. As it turns out, taking over a weed farm from a sleazy businessman and a triad associate has its consequences. With the Manfredi family completely taking over Tulsa, the feds decide to stop going after Dwight, but instead make use of his skills. So in Season 3, it's revealed that the armed men that nabbed Dwight in the dead of night are actually DEA agents. This is why the FBI headquarters contacted Tulsa about the Dwight Manfredi case, because the DEA needs him for a mission that only he can pull off. Now that the DEA knows that Dwight would rather rot in prison rather than rat out his family, so they offer him a deal that he cannot refuse.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
When the DEA is done with Dwight, they'll prosecute him under a reduced sentence, but promise to not go after any other crew members of the Manfredi family. Here's the real catch though. There is a huge chance that not everybody in this crew gets out alive. The DEA needs Dwight to personally infiltrate the global drug cartel, gathering intelligence until the feds can actually arrest the higher-ups in the organization. Apart from being one of the biggest cartels in the world, this one has a reputation of torturing anyone that betrays them and erasing their families off the face of the world. Also, the cartel has avoided working with the mafia in the past, but they do agree to work with Dwight, someone that not only has beef with the mafia and the government, but also has a reputation of loyalty and integrity. And given Dwight's recent comeuppance, he's actually the perfect candidate to join this global table. When the DEA shows Dwight the cartel's atrocious handiwork, his atrocious anger only confirms that he is the right man for the job. So while Dwight is initially reluctant to work with the government, they know how to play against his hero complex, offering him the chance to make the world a little safer. But in order for Dwight to pull this off, he's gonna need some outside help. In the 3rd season of Tulsa King, Bill and Dwight finally accept the fact that they need each other. Kansas City may own everything east of Vegas and West Chicago, but after Bill earned 50% of Tulsa's cut, it still remains his most profitable acquisition.
50%. You earned it.
As for Dwight, he needs the weight of KC in order to become a more viable associate for the cartel. And as both of these men are generals that aren't afraid to get their hands dirty, Dwight and Bill become the most feared and respected duo in the history of the Midwest. The entire first half of Season 3 will bank on the chemistry between these two, who expand their enterprise and kick ass along the way. But while Season 3 perfectly uses Dwight and Bill's underutilized chemistry, let's not forget what's really happening. Despite their new, profitable friendship, Dwight doesn't tell Bill that he's actually working for the DEA. However, like the rest of the Manfredi crew, the DEA agrees to let Bill walk after Dwight is done with the cartels. Unfortunately, the DEA plans to take both Dwight and Bill into custody once the mission is complete. All of this complicates Dwight's relationship with Bill, who he begins to look at as a son. Bohdi may be a coward, but since the beginning, he has never been shy about letting Dwight know where he stands. And while Bohdi has always been a loyal and useful soldier for the Manfredi family, Dwight finally allows Bohdi to walk away from any more criminal involvement in Season 3. Dwight also gives Bohdi a small fortune as a parting gift. The cost of the higher plane store from when Dwight originally took it from Bohdi, with inflation of course. And inadvertently, Bohdi returns the favor. Before leaving, he sets up the most advanced security system, not just for the higher plane, but also for every physical building that the Manfredi family uses in Tulsa. And when Bohdi leaves, he uses Dwight's parting gift to disappear off the face of the earth. The crew speculates what happens to Bohdi. Tyson thinks that he becomes a waiter at a catering company, a useful cover for a former elite criminal. Grace argues that Bohdi could have taken his talents to Silicon Valley, who can make a pretty good life for himself even with the new identity. In the end, Bohdi is seen smoking a joint while laying on a secluded beach, watching the Jamaican sunset while ruminating on how lucky he is just to be alive. With that being said, the story's not over just yet. As Dwight is carted off to prison, the story of his exploits go viral. And in the ensuing public frenzy, the media baptizes Dwight's moniker Tulsa King, the former mafioso who built his own empire in Oklahoma. So while Season 3 wraps up the story of Dwight the General Manfredi, this also gives way to the Tulsa King spinoff. With Tulsa being exposed for a hotbed of criminal activity, Goodie and Armand take their shtick to New Orleans. Not unlike when Dwight first set foot in Tulsa, Armand and Goodie make their way to the local gangs, some of which have been here for decades. And while some of these gangs are run by violent would-be warlords, many function as civil society organizations. Tulsa King tapping into the history of the city. As a gangster with a dark and complicated past, Armand finds himself right at home. And the same can be true for Goodie, the former mafia detective who is known by many of the gangs. At the same time, there are some that see this small faction of the Manfredi crew as invaders, their friendly smiles masking their true intent, taking over New Orleans. But what do you think? Do you think Tulsa King can actually wrap everything up in its 3rd season? Apart from Goodie and Armand, who else do you think should go to New Orleans in the Tulsa King spinoff? Tell us your thoughts and theories down in the comments below, and thanks for watching ScreenRant.